Gilmore joining us now. Governor, great to have you with us.
Good morning, John. Great to talk to your listeners.
Mark Warner, ranking member, Senate Intel. You ran against him for U.S. Senate back in the day. Let's see, that would have been 2008. And he obviously was victorious in that in your Senate race. Ranking member on the Intel Committee. Now we find that he sent private texts to a Russian oligarch lobbyist. Get this. One of the texts saying that he wanted a private meeting so there was no paper trail. He was trying to meet with this guy, Christopher Steele, who did the fake phony dossier, paid $12 million by the DNC in the Clinton campaign, was not a spy when he was doing this, just making phone calls from his flat in London trying to dig up dirt on Trump. So then Warner has no information, right? I mean, look, here's the bottom line. They have nothing, right? They have nothing. So Warner's got to try to go outside the system and get something to justify his ongoing investigation. And he's caught red-handed sending these texts talking about meet me in London, no paper trail. What the hell is going on?
Well, I guess we just don't know, do we? Mark Warner has been really very prominent in leading the Senate investigation. The chairman of the investigation is Senator Burr of North Carolina, a Republican, but Mark Warner is the Democrat leader. And we haven't seen any report yet. We don't really know what they're finding. As you say, they may have found nothing. And if so, I think that Senator Warner has an obligation to come out and announce that. And it may very well be that he was doing a secret meeting. He has plenty of money, so he has no trouble getting to London if he chooses to, quietly and surreptitiously in order to meet with this guy. I think the whole essence of the matter is the fact that the whole sort of so-called dossier creation was being paid for by the Clinton campaign as part of their campaign. And I think that that has to be taken into account. And at the end of the day, it all has to be put out there for everybody to see. And what Senator Warner has or has not done has to be exposed and revealed.
Well, how do you get it exposed and revealed? And let me just ask you something, Governor. What's the deal here with the media, right? I mean, this to me is an unbelievable story that no one covered. I mean, nobody talked about it on the Sunday shows. It was glossed over. There's no front page article in the New York Times. The Washington Post makes believe it doesn't exist. I mean, what if a Republican had done this, right? This thing would be blasted all over CNN, the Times, the Post, LA Times would be headline, page one, top of the fold, everywhere. And yet it's just like, yeah, well, he sent a few texts.
I think it is time for the American people to start thinking seriously about the conduct of the American media and who it is and what it is. You're trying to provide some balance right now through talk radio. Talk radio seems to be the only vehicle that remains for people to get a different topic into discussion, much less what the substance of it is. But you're doing that, and other people are doing that, but you don't see much of it. I think that Fox tries to provide different sides of the story, but they have been derided and criticized because of who they are. At the end of the day, John, I take the position this is all about politics. This is about getting votes for the 2018 campaign so the Congress can be taken over by the left, and that then they can position themselves either to impeach Donald Trump or, which I think would be a very dangerous thing for the democracy, to try to undo the election. Or to beat him in 2020, which will be a straight-up battle, which is very legitimate. But they're trying to position that race now for a Trump defeat, because the left has got to take control of the government. They already have the media, as you point out. They already have a lot of the business community, as we have seen through our reports. They've got to get the government, and I think they were shocked by the Trump election.
All right, so what happens now to Warner? I mean, is there an investigation here? Does the FBI look into it? I mean, he's not responding to it. Nobody's even asked the guy a question. I mean, think about what he did. He's the sitting ranking Intel member. And look, I'm not partisan on this particular instance, all right? I voted for Mark Warner in 2014. I endorsed him over Ed Gillespie because I thought he was a better choice for Virginia. So this isn't about Democrat, Republican, or anything else. But you look at the ranking Intel committee member who for months has gone on TV, looked the camera in the eye, and said, there's more questions than answers. Every time somebody comes in, it raises more questions. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's something there. We're going to keep digging. We have questions, no answers. If he had all these questions and no answers, why on earth would he be trying to set up a private meeting with somebody the FBI fired because of leaks, somebody whose dossier the intel community of the United States discredited, and nothing was corroborated? Why would he be trying to have a secret meeting in London with no paper trail? What would be the objective of that?
What indeed? He's conducting the public's business, and I think that it's going to have to be a matter of public record what he was doing. And in a larger sense, the point you made is a strong one. Okay, they've had a couple of years now to go here and really dig into Donald Trump, or a year to dig into, well, a year and a half to dig into Donald Trump. The time's come for them to present their evidence and say what they've got. And if they don't have anything, then I think that has to be balanced against the public relations bonanza that Senator Warner has created. The ability to get out there and to say to the public, well, I'm looking into this and I'm honest, and this is all corrupt and this is dangerous. I think that there's a much larger foreign policy concern that we've all got to start to address, but we don't get to address it because of this so-called Russian investigation. Well, the bottom line now is that they've got to go ahead and produce their evidence and show what they've got. And if they don't have anything, they have to be men about it and women and stand up and say, we've looked into it deeply, we just don't have anything. But this business of doing the public business secretly with no paper trail, quietly, I mean, I don't think that he would be spending government money to go to London. He'd be spending his own. But he has an enormous amount of money, which gives you an enormous amount of power. So I think these are, but he's not in private life now. He's in public life, which means there has to be public accountability.
I don't see how he stays on the Intel Committee. I just don't. Look, here's the bottom line. Jeff Sessions had to recuse himself because he shook hands with the Russian ambassador in a receiving line at the end of a reception. Mark Warner is exchanging texts with a foreign lobbyist agent of an oligarch trying to set secret meetings up to meet with this guy to find more dirt on Trump because his committee has nothing. I don't see how he stays on the Intel Committee. I don't see how he can justify staying on this committee as the ranking member.
If indeed they don't have anything, and there have been this ominous report after report and press conference after press conference about how there's smoke, there must be fire, there must be something here, there must be something here. They're just going to have to be grown-ups about it and just come out and just tell the American people now, before the 2018 elections, that they just don't have anything. To keep the thing spinning out in the hopes that maybe they can get to a vote where there's just all kinds of scandal hanging over everything is not an appropriate way to run a democracy. There's a lot of danger to this democracy right now, John. I mean, the American press is leading the way in that danger. But I think that at the end of the day, we're going to have an election, and I think it needs to be an honest one, which means that the information has to be made public.
Well, I wonder if he told Chairman Richard Burr that he was sending these texts. I doubt it. Because
That's a great question, isn't it? I
mean,
wonder
that to
if
me is
Senator Burr knew
Yep.
That Mark Warner was trying to arrange a secret meeting in London with a person who had been running a opposition research operation for the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton. I wonder whether Senator Burr knew that. I guess we ought to find that out.
Well, to me, that's the major question, because remember, on the House side, Chairman Devin Nunes had to step down for a while and get out of there as chairman because he had done something and didn't tell Adam Schiff about it, and everybody was up in arms, and he had to take a 60-day or 90-day hiatus, whatever it is, and the media was all over that like flies on manure, yet nothing on Warner. I mean, the duplicity of the media is really becoming tiresome, and this is a perfect example of it. And look, I like Mark Warner, but if they had anything on Trump, there's no way on God's green earth that Mark Warner, ranking member, Senate Intel, senior senator, is sending private texts to some oligarch's lobbyist trying to get a private meeting with Steele. If they had something, they wouldn't have to do that. My theory is they don't have squat. They're embarrassed by it. They're trying to make this thing continue on through the midterm, so in some hopes that they can win, and now it blew up in their face.
Well, I think that a lot of the so-called attacks on Donald Trump have been about meetings with Russians. Now, I think what they're inquiring about is, are the Russians actually participating as a matter of their foreign policy, of their governmental policy against the American democracy? I mean, I just stated it clearer than anybody else has. That's the question that they're looking into. Well, Mark Warner now has reached out to Russians. Look, I was actually, by the way, present at that meeting at the Mayflower Hotel when the president gave his speech, but I was just a member of the audience. I was just sitting there. Actually, they ended up sitting me next to the Russian ambassador, who I just said hello to. So I guess that if they don't have much more than that, they ought to just quit, because I didn't see any secret meetings being held. Of course, maybe if there were secret meetings, Jim Gilmore wouldn't have seen them, but. All it really was that day was a meeting where the candidate Trump was laying out his foreign policy. That's all that was going on.
All nonsense. I tell you what, all this stuff is going to eventually, Governor Gilmore, come home to roost. No question about it.